The town of Willow Creek had always been quiet. People lived simple lives and everyone knew everyone else. On a warm afternoon, a small crowd gathered at the old cemetery. The sun was beginning to sink behind the hills, painting the sky with shades of orange and red. Shadows stretched across the freshly dug earth. The villagers had come together for a sad reason. They were here to say goodbye to Daniel, a man who had lived a quiet life with his loyal dog Max. Daniel had been a kind man. He was known for helping neighbors, fixing things for anyone who needed him, and always being gentle with children. His house, a small brick home at the edge of town, had a large garden where he grew vegetables and flowers. He had no family nearby, and Max, a strong black canine, had been his only companion. Max had been with Daniel for many years. The dog was large, with shiny black fur and bright, intelligent eyes. Max followed Daniel everywhere and seemed to understand him in ways that no one else could. As the villagers arrived, Max sat beside the coffin. He did not move. His ears were alert and his tail was stiff. The dog's eyes were fixed on the closed lid, and every now and then he let out a low growl. At first, people thought it was grief. Dogs were said to feel loss, and Max had always been very close to Daniel. But the growl was different. It was warning, tense and deep, like he sensed something that the humans could not see. The coffin was simple, made of polished oak. Daniel's hands were folded over his chest. His face was calm, peaceful, as though he were asleep. The priest, an older man named Father Benedict, stood in front of the grave. He cleared his throat and began the prayers. His voice was steady but soft, carrying over the quiet murmurs of the crowd. The villagers, dressed in dark clothes, bowed their heads as Father Benedict spoke. Some whispered prayers, others clutched small tokens, and a few simply stared at the ground, trying to hide their sadness. Max did not bow his head. He remained focused on the coffin. Every now and then he shifted his weight, growling softly, snapping his head toward the crowd as if warning them to stay back. "Dogs sometimes sense things we cannot," said Mrs. Harper, a woman who lived across from Daniel's house. Her voice was quiet, but there was fear in it. "Maybe he knows something we do not understand." A man named Mr. Lewis, the town elder, walked toward the coffin. "It is just the dog grieving," he said firmly. "Do not worry. He has loved Daniel for years. This is normal." He reached to pat Max on the head, but the dog stepped back, snarling quietly. His eyes did not leave the coffin. The priest's prayers continued. He spoke about life, about death, and about memories that stay with us. The villagers listened, their hearts heavy. Children clung to their mother's hands, and the breeze carried the scent of flowers from Daniel's garden. The peaceful air of the cemetery seemed to conflict with the tension coming from Max. Suddenly, Max barked sharply. It was a loud, commanding sound that echoed through the cemetery. Heads turned, and a few people jumped back in surprise. The dog barked again, more urgently, circling the coffin. His movements were quick and precise, not random. He stopped, staring at the coffin as though waiting for something to happen. "What is wrong with him?" whispered a young man named Paul, a neighbor. "He has never acted like this before." "I do not know," said Mrs. Harper. "I feel uneasy. There is something strange." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying a low, almost eerie sound. Leaves fell gently to the ground, but the mood had shifted. The villagers felt it. Even the priest paused, noticing the dog's unusual behavior. Father Benedict cleared his throat. "Let us finish the prayers," he said. Though his voice wavered slightly, Max barked once more, louder than before. This time it sounded urgent, almost like a warning. The villagers looked at each other nervously. Some moved closer to their friends, seeking comfort. Others simply froze, unsure of what to do. Mr. Lewis frowned. He stepped closer again, trying to calm the dog. "Max, it is okay," he said softly. "All is well." Max did not calm down. He growled, low and threatening. He stepped closer to the coffin and sniffed the air around it. His eyes darted from the crowd to the lid, then back again. There was a sense of purpose in his actions. He was not merely upset or scared. He was alert, protecting something or warning about something, the villagers whispered among themselves. "Do you think something is wrong?" asked a woman named Clara. Her hand shook slightly. "Daniel is gone, but Max seems to know something we do not." Paul nodded. "I have never seen a dog act like this. He is trying to tell us something." "But what?" The priest finished the final words of the prayer. He made the sign of the cross and spoke quietly, "May Daniel rest in peace." The villagers repeated the phrase softly, their voices filled with sorrow. The coffin was slowly lowered toward the ground. Max did not move. He followed every inch of the coffin's descent with his eyes. When the coffin finally touched the bottom, he barked again, fierce and loud. The villagers stepped back instinctively, surprised by the intensity of the dog's reaction. Some tried to call him off, but Max ignored them. He circled the grave, growling and watching, his loyalty to Daniel shining through every movement. Mr. Lewis stepped forward one more time. "It is enough, Max," he said calmly. "We are here to honor Daniel. Please do not frighten the people." Max stopped circling but did not sit down. He stayed alert, his eyes fixed on the coffin, ears perked as though waiting for something. The crowd slowly began to disperse. Children were led away by their parents. Neighbors exchanged quiet words. Mrs. Harper lingered for a moment, looking at Max. "You are a loyal dog," she said softly. "You know what others do not." Max's eyes met hers for a brief moment, filled with intelligence and purpose. Then he returned to watching the coffin. As the sun dipped lower, the cemetery became quieter. Shadows stretched across the graves and the wind whispered through the trees. Max remained by the coffin, unmoving, ever watchful. It was clear to anyone who looked closely that this dog was not simply mourning. He was protecting a secret, guarding a truth that no one yet understood. The villagers left the cemetery with heavy hearts, feeling sadness for Daniel, but also a growing unease. Max's behavior had left an impression on everyone who had seen it. His barks, his growls, his constant vigilance, these were signs of something more than grief. Something hidden lay beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. As night approached, Max finally settled beside the grave. He rested his head on his paws, still alert. The stars began to appear in the sky, and the first sounds of evening filled the air. Max did not sleep. He watched, he waited. He knew that the events of the day were only the beginning. The people of Willow Creek would soon realize that Daniel's death was not as simple as it seemed. And Max, the loyal K9, would be at the center of it all, guarding secrets, warning the living, and showing a loyalty that few could ever understand. The quiet town slept that night, unaware of the mysteries hidden in plain sight, unaware that a dog's bark could hold the key to uncovering the truth. The night after Daniel's funeral, the town of Willow Creek was unusually quiet. The streets were empty, and the wind moved softly through the trees, carrying the smell of earth and flowers from the cemetery. Inside Daniel's small brick house, Max paced back and forth. He did not eat or rest. His eyes were alert, ears flicking at every sound. The dog had spent all his life with Daniel, and though his master was gone, Max acted as though he still had a mission. The villagers could not shake the unease they felt after the funeral. Everyone had noticed Max's strange behavior. The growls, the barking, the intensity in his eyes. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The mayor, Mr. Grant, called a meeting at the town hall to discuss the matter. "Did anyone else see the dog?" asked Mrs. Harper. He acted as if he knew something. Something was not right. Paul, who lived near Daniel, spoke next. "I saw it too. He was not just sad. He was warning us. I do not understand how, but he was trying to tell us something important." The mayor frowned. "It is just a dog. Animals grieve differently. That is all. We must respect Daniel and let him rest in peace." But not everyone was convinced. Mr. Lewis, the town elder, leaned forward in his chair. "I have lived here for over 50 years, he said slowly. "I have seen many things, but this dog is different. He knows more than we do. We should not ignore him." Even as they spoke, the memory of Max circling the coffin and barking sharply replayed in everyone's mind. The sound had been commanding, urgent, and almost human in its intensity. Something told them that Max was trying to protect not only Daniel's memory, but also something else. That evening, a few brave villagers decided to check Daniel's house. They wanted to see if there were any signs of danger or anything unusual. Paul and Mrs. Harper, along with a man named Robert, walked carefully to the house. Max met them at the door. His growl was low, warning them not to enter. His fur bristled and his teeth showed, but he did not attack. He simply stood between the visitors and the house, alert and ready. "Max, calm down," Paul said softly. "We only want to see the house." The dog did not move, but he did not leave either. He walked slowly inside, glancing back as if inviting them to follow, while still keeping watch. Inside, the house was exactly as it had been when Daniel lived there. The furniture was neat, and the smell of fresh flowers lingered. Max moved to a corner near the back room, his eyes fixed on the closed door of the small study. Paul approached slowly. "There is nothing unusual here," he said. "Just the normal things Daniel had. Maybe the dog is only guarding memories." But Max barked again, sharp and warning. His body stiffened, and he circled the study door, sniffing at the floor. Mrs. Harper gasped. "No, he knows something," she whispered. "He can sense it. Something is behind that door." Robert frowned. "It is just a room," he said. "Maybe he senses a mouse or some animal hiding inside." Paul shook his head. "No, it is more than that. Look at his eyes. He is focused. He is telling us to check." The three villagers hesitated, but finally they opened the study door. Inside it was dark and quiet. Dust covered the shelves, and Daniel's papers were neatly stacked on the desk. There was nothing unusual at first glance. But then Max barked again, louder, circling the desk. He pawed at the floor near the corner of the room, growling. Paul knelt to look closer. His heart skipped a beat when he noticed something strange. The floorboards were slightly loose, as if someone had moved them recently. He touched them carefully, and there was a hollow sound beneath. Mrs. Harper whispered, "What is under there?" Paul carefully lifted the boards. Beneath there was a small space, dark and deep. At first it appeared empty, but then he saw something move. Max barked fiercely, jumping back a little, his fur raised. A muffled sound came from the space under the floorboards. Robert's face went pale. That sounds like someone." "Yes," Paul said quietly. "Someone is trapped under here." The villagers had never imagined that something like this could happen. They had come to honor Daniel's memory, to mourn him, and now they were facing the impossible. The dog's warning, the strange behavior, the barking, it all made sense. Max had known something was wrong, even when everyone else thought it was only grief. Without wasting a moment, Paul ran to the mayor's house to get help. Meanwhile, Mrs. Harper stayed with Max, trying to calm him. The dog sat quietly for a moment, but continued to growl softly, keeping watch over the trapped figure beneath the floorboards. Soon Mr. Grant, the mayor, arrived with a few villagers and a ladder. They lifted the loose floorboards carefully, revealing a small hidden space. A young man, pale and weak, was crouched inside. He looked terrified. When he saw Max and the villagers, he started to speak, his voice trembling. "Please, help me." "I have been trapped here for days," he said. The villagers were shocked. They had never expected to find someone alive, hidden under the floorboards. Max barked again, softer this time, as if confirming that everything was now safe. He sniffed the young man and wagged his tail slightly, a sign of approval and relief. The young man explained slowly, still shaking. He had been captured and hidden by someone jealous of Daniel. The person had wanted to take advantage of the town's belief that Daniel was dead. They had locked him in the secret space under the study to scare the town and create confusion. The villagers listened in horror. They could not believe such cruelty had happened in their quiet town. Max had been right all along. The dog had sensed the danger, had warned them, and had protected Daniel's memory by preventing this hidden crime from going unnoticed. The mayor shook his head. "We must bring this to the authorities," he said. "No one should do such a thing. Justice will be done." Max remained near the young man, alert and watchful. He had fulfilled his duty so far, but he did not relax completely. His loyalty to Daniel and his sharp instincts told him that there was still more to uncover. The villagers helped the young man out of the small space. He was weak, hungry, and exhausted, but he was alive. Tears filled the eyes of Mrs. Harper and others as they realized the gravity of what had happened. A crime had been hidden behind the walls of Daniel's home, and a dog had been the first to sense it. That night, the town of Willow Creek could not sleep. People spoke quietly in their homes about the events of the evening. Max stayed at the door of Daniel's house, watching over the young man and the villagers who had gathered to help. His loyalty and courage had changed the course of events. Without him, the young man might never have been found. Even as the stars appeared in the sky, Max remained vigilant. The wind carried the whispers of the town, but he did not move. He sat quietly, ears flicking, eyes sharp, ready for any sign of danger. The villagers began to understand that Max was not an ordinary dog. He had an intelligence, a sense of duty, and a loyalty that went beyond simple companionship. Paul, standing nearby, whispered softly, "He is incredible." He knew something was wrong before we did. He saved this man and he protected Daniel's memory. Max looked at him as if he understood every word. His eyes shone with a mixture of pride and determination. The night passed slowly, and by morning the young man was safe, resting in the house under the care of the villagers. Max finally allowed himself to lie down, but only for a short while. His body relaxed slightly, but his eyes continued to scan the surroundings. The town of Willow Creek had learned an important lesson that night. Sometimes warnings come from unexpected places. Sometimes loyalty and courage are found not just in people, but in animals who watch, who sense danger, and who act when others cannot. Max had done all of this silently, without complaint, without asking for recognition. He had simply done what he knew was right, and as the villagers looked at him, they knew that their quiet town would never forget the dog who barked in warning, who acted with courage, and who had uncovered a secret that could have caused great harm. Max's story was just beginning, and his loyalty to Daniel would guide the events yet to come. The next morning, the town of Willow Creek was awake to a strange mix of relief and unease. News had spread that a young man had been rescued from Daniel's home. The villagers whispered about the mysterious events, about Max's warnings, and about the hidden space under the study. Despite the relief, a shadow of fear lingered in everyone's mind. Max, the loyal K9, remained at the edge of the house, his eyes sharp and alert. He had been through a restless night, keeping watch, and he did not relax. Something told him that the danger was not entirely over. The villagers, though safe for the moment, felt the same tension. They had discovered the first part of a secret, but none of them knew what else might be hidden. The rescued young man, whose name was Thomas, had been weak and frightened. He sat in a chair near the fireplace, sipping warm water that Mrs. Harper had prepared. His hands trembled as he spoke. "I do not understand why this happened," he said quietly. "I thought I would die there. The air was cold and I was trapped. I could barely breathe. I heard footsteps above me, but I could not see who it was." Paul, standing nearby, listened carefully. "Do you remember who put you there?" he asked. Thomas shook his head, his eyes wide with fear. "No, I did not see the person clearly. I only know they wanted to frighten the town. They wanted everyone to believe Daniel's death was final and to take advantage of it. But I do not know why they targeted me." Max growled softly, his ears twitching. He had been watching a corner of the room, sensing something the humans could not. Paul noticed the dog's behavior and leaned closer. "He senses something," Paul said. "Something we are missing." Max has always been sharp, he has never been wrong. Suddenly a sound came from the floorboards, a soft, scratching noise, almost like someone tapping or moving beneath the floor. Max stiffened, his growl growing louder. The villagers froze. The sound came again, low and deliberate. "Could it be another hiding place?" Mrs. Harper whispered, fear in her voice. Thomas's eyes widened. "I do not think I am alone. Someone else. Maybe they are still here," he said. The group moved cautiously toward the sound. Max led them, sniffing the floor and growling when he sensed the hidden presence. The sound came from the small cellar door, which had been locked and long forgotten. Paul checked the lock. It was old but not broken. Carefully, he opened the door. The wooden stairs creaked under their weight as they descended into the dark cellar. Max moved ahead, alert and tense. The room was dim, with only a single shaft of sunlight coming from a small window near the top. It smelled of damp earth and dust, and then they saw it, another hidden space behind a loose wall panel. The soft scratching continued. "Someone is there," Thomas whispered. "Please help them." Paul nodded. "Stay calm. Max will protect us." Max barked sharply, signaling the villagers to step back. Then, with careful movements, he approached the panel. Suddenly, a hand shot out from the hidden space, pale and trembling. The villagers jumped back in shock. Max barked loudly, standing in front of the hand, warning them to stay back. A face emerged, pale and frightened. The young man gasped for air as he was helped out by Paul and Thomas. It was not Daniel, but another person, someone unknown to the villagers. The man, weak and trembling, looked around in fear, not understanding where he was or why he had been trapped. "Please," the man whispered. I was locked in here. I do not know why. I thought I would die. Mrs. Harper guided him to a chair. You are safe now, she said gently. You are safe. We will help you. Max sniffed the man carefully, then sat down, watching the surroundings. He had sensed danger from the start, and now he was satisfied that the immediate threat had passed. The villagers exchanged worried looks. This was no longer about grief. This was a crime, carefully planned and cruel. The rescued man, whose name was Lucas, explained slowly. I was passing by Daniel's house when someone grabbed me. They said Daniel was gone and that no one would notice. They wanted to hide me until everything was ready. I do not know why they chose me. I think they were angry at Daniel and wanted to frighten the town, to make people confused and scared. The villagers listened, horrified. Their peaceful town had been touched by a dark plot, hidden behind walls and under floors, and all along Max had known something was wrong. He had barked, growled, and protected the house without anyone understanding why. Paul shook his head. This is terrible. We trusted the town. We trusted everyone. And yet someone tried to trick us, to hurt an innocent man. If Max had not acted, he might have been trapped much longer or worse. Max barked softly, almost as if he understood Paul's words. He had done what was necessary without hesitation, without fear. His loyalty had guided him, his instincts had warned him, and his courage had saved a life. The villagers realized that the danger might not be over. The people who had trapped Lucas were still unknown. Perhaps they were watching, waiting for another chance to cause harm. Max's vigilance was still needed. He stayed near the stairs, alert, scanning the shadows, ready to act if any danger appeared. The rescued men, Thomas and Lucas, shared their experiences quietly. They described the darkness, the fear, and the cold that had filled the hidden spaces. The villagers were silent, absorbing every detail. It was clear that the acts had been deliberate, cruel, and well-planned. The quiet town had been a stage for something much darker than anyone had imagined. The mayor, Mr. Grant, arrived soon after. He had been informed about the events and looked grave. We must investigate this, he said firmly. No one should feel unsafe in this town. Whoever is behind this must be found and stopped. Paul nodded. Max has already helped us. He warned us. He protected us. He might help us find more clues. Max barked softly, moving closer to the stairs. His eyes were sharp, and his nose twitched as he sniffed the air. He was ready for anything. The villagers began to realize that the loyal dog was more than a pet. He was a guardian, a protector, a sentinel who could sense what humans could not. As evening approached, the town gathered near Daniel's house. People came to see Lucas and Thomas, to hear the story and offer help. Max remained near the house, alert and watchful. Even as the sun set, casting long shadows across the walls, he did not rest. His eyes followed every movement, every shadow, and every person approaching the house. The events of the day had left the town in shock, but they had also given them hope. They had learned that loyalty, courage, and vigilance could prevent tragedy. Max had shown them that sometimes heroes come in unexpected forms, and yet the town still sensed unease. The mysterious individuals who had caused so much fear and danger had not been found. Their motives were unclear. The danger could still be near, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment. Max remained vigilant, standing guard over Daniel's memory, protecting those who were innocent and ready to face whatever darkness might come next. As night fell, the stars sparkled above Willow Creek, calm and beautiful, but beneath that peaceful sky, the town knew that not all secrets had been revealed. Max stayed alert, a silent guardian, watching over the living, protecting the truth, and preparing for the challenges that would come in the days ahead. The people of Willow Creek would never forget that day. They had seen courage and loyalty in its purest form. They had learned that sometimes the smallest actions, the quietest warnings, and the sharpest instincts could prevent disaster. Max had been their guide, their protector, and their reminder that true loyalty does not sleep, does not falter, and does not fail. The following day, Willow Creek was alive with quiet curiosity and nervous energy. News of the young men's rescue had spread through the town, and people whispered about the mysterious events in Daniel's house. Even the children who usually played in the streets spoke in hushed voices, afraid of the unknown. Max, the loyal black canine, remained near the house, watching with alert eyes and a tense posture. He seemed to know that the story was far from over. Thomas and Lucas were recovering slowly. They spoke with the villagers, recounting their terrifying experiences in the hidden spaces of Daniel's house. But something still puzzled everyone. Who had done this? Why had Daniel's house been chosen for such cruelty? And how had the hidden spaces gone unnoticed for so long? Paul and Mrs. Harper decided to investigate further. They wanted to search every corner of the house for clues. Max followed closely, his nose moving and ears twitching as he sniffed the air. He led them toward the study, the same room where Lucas had been trapped. His growl was low and steady, guiding them like a living compass toward a hidden truth. "Look at him," Paul said quietly. "He knows something. He can sense it. Max is telling us to search carefully." Mrs. Harper nodded. "I have never seen a dog like this. He is not just loyal, he is intelligent in ways we cannot fully understand." The villagers worked slowly, checking behind bookshelves, under furniture, and inside drawers. Max circled the room, growling softly whenever he sensed something unusual. His attention focused on a section of the wall near the corner. It was a plain wall with no sign of a door or opening, but Max's growl grew louder and his paws scratched at the base. Paul leaned closer. "Could there be another hidden space?" he asked. Mrs. Harper's hands shook as she looked at him. "It seems impossible," she whispered. But Max knows. He has never been wrong. Carefully they examined the wall. To their surprise, they found a small seam in the plaster, almost invisible to the eye. Paul pressed it gently and a panel swung open. Behind it was a dark passage, narrow and deep. A faint smell of damp earth and decay filled the air. Max barked softly, then stepped aside, allowing the villagers to see inside. "Someone could still be in there," Mrs. Harper said, her voice trembling. Paul called out softly, "Is anyone there? Please come out. We will help you." At first there was silence. Then, a faint scratching sound echoed from deep within the passage. Max growled and moved closer to the opening, his body tense. A figure stumbled out, pale and weak. The villagers gasped. It was a woman this time, younger than Thomas or Lucas. Her eyes were wide with fear and her clothes were torn and dirty. I was trapped," she whispered. "I do not know why they did this. I thought I would die here." The villagers helped her out carefully, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. Max sniffed her, then wagged his tail slightly, a quiet sign of relief. He had guided them to the hidden passage, and now another life had been saved because of him. The woman, whose name was Clara, explained what had happened. "I was walking home when someone grabbed me. They said Daniel was dead and that no one would notice. They forced me into the hidden passage. I could hear them moving above me, but I could not see who they were. I tried to escape, but it was impossible. I did not think anyone would find me." Paul listened carefully. "Do you recognize anyone who did this?" he asked. Clara shook her head. "No, I only saw shadows. But they seemed to know the house well. They moved quickly, quietly, as if they had planned everything in advance." Mrs. Harper looked at Max. "He knew," she said softly. "He knew something was wrong before we did. He saved all of them." Max barked softly, his eyes shining with intelligence. The villagers realized that Daniel's loyal companion had been more than just a pet. He had been a guardian, protecting lives even after his master's death. The mayor, Mr. Grant, arrived soon after, along with several other villagers. They listened as Thomas, Lucas, and Clara recounted their experiences. The evidence was clear. Someone had deliberately used Daniel's house to trap innocent people. The hidden spaces had been created to frighten the town and cover the plans of a jealous or cruel individual. Mr. Grant's face was grim. "We must find the person responsible," he said. "This is no longer just about Daniel's death. Someone tried to harm others, and that will not be tolerated in Willow Creek." Paul nodded. "Max led us to the truth. He sensed the danger before any of us did. We cannot ignore what he has shown us." The villagers decided to search the town for clues, asking neighbors if they had seen anyone suspicious. Max followed, his nose to the ground, guiding them from house to house. He paused occasionally, growling softly, indicating places that needed careful attention. Finally, they came to a small abandoned shed at the edge of town. Max barked sharply and stood in front of the door, his body tense. Paul opened the door slowly. Inside, they found evidence of plans and notes that pointed to a neighbor named Mr. Harlan. He had always been envious of Daniel's life, his kindness, and his connection with the town. Now, it seemed, jealousy had driven him to create hidden spaces, trap people, and spread fear. The mayor called the authorities. Mr. Harlan was arrested and brought before the townspeople. He looked surprised, as if he had never expected to be caught. The villagers watched, realizing how close they had come to disaster. Max stood proudly near the steps of Daniel's house, his tail raised, his eyes bright. He had uncovered the truth, saved lives, and ensured that justice could be served. Lucas and Clara recovered slowly, supported by the villagers. Thomas continued to speak with the townspeople about the importance of vigilance and loyalty. And through it all, Max remained at Daniel's house, alert, watchful, and ready for anything. The town had learned many lessons from these events. They had learned that danger could hide where it was least expected. They had learned that courage and loyalty could appear in forms they had never imagined. And they had learned that a dog, silent and steadfast, could guide them through shadows and fear to safety and truth. By the evening, Willow Creek was calm again. Max sat by the door of Daniel's house, looking at the sunset. The villagers passed by, nodding respectfully to him. They had come to understand that his actions were not just instinct, but a gift, a kind of wisdom and courage that could not be ignored. As night fell, the stars shone above the quiet town. The danger was gone, the hidden spaces had been revealed, and the guilty had been captured. Yet the villagers knew that the memory of what had happened would stay with them forever. And at the center of it all was Max, the loyal canine, whose love for his master and courage for others had saved lives and revealed truth that no human could have uncovered alone. The town slept peacefully that night, comforted by the knowledge that they had been protected, guided and saved by a friend who could not speak with words, but whose actions had been louder than any voice. Max rested briefly beside Daniel's grave, his duty fulfilled for the day, but his eyes still watched the horizon, ready for whatever challenge might come next. The town of Willow Creek was quieter now, but the memory of the recent events lingered in every heart. The rescue of Thomas, Lucas, and Clara had shaken the villagers, but it had also shown them the power of courage and loyalty. Max, the black K9, remained near Daniel's house, watching the surroundings, alert and unyielding. The morning after Mr. Harlan's arrest, the town gathered near Daniel's house. People came to check on the rescued villagers and to offer help. Thomas, Lucas, and Clara were recovering, supported by the kind care of the neighbors. The mayor, Mr. Grant, addressed the crowd. "This town has faced something extraordinary," he said. "We have seen fear and danger, but we have also seen courage and loyalty. We have learned that even in darkness there is hope, and sometimes that hope comes in forms we do not expect." All eyes turned toward Max, who sat near Daniel's grave. His shiny black fur gleamed in the morning sunlight, and his eyes reflected intelligence and pride. The villagers understood that he had been the hero of the town. Without him, they might never have discovered the hidden passages or rescued those who had been trapped. Paul stepped forward and spoke softly. "Max has saved lives. He has shown us that loyalty and courage are not always human. He has taught us that true protection comes from care, attention, and understanding. We must honor him for what he has done." Max barked softly, almost as if acknowledging the words. Children ran to him, patting his head, while adults offered quiet smiles and nods. The dog remained calm, allowing the attention but never losing his alertness. He understood his role. He had a duty to fulfill, and he would not rest until he knew the town and its people were safe. The authorities continued to investigate Mr. Harlan's actions. They discovered evidence that he had planned the traps carefully, using Daniel's house to hide people and spread fear. The villagers were shocked. They had trusted their neighbors, believed in the quiet of their town, and yet someone had betrayed that trust. But the investigation also revealed the limits of human perception. The hidden passages, the secret compartments, and the locked spaces were clever, but they could not fool Max. His instincts, his attention to detail, and his loyalty had uncovered what no one else could see. The town realized that sometimes the smallest actions, the sharpest senses, could make the greatest difference. In the following days, Willow Creek began to heal. The rescued villagers returned to their homes, gradually regaining strength and confidence. They shared their experiences, warning others and teaching them the lessons they had learned. They spoke of Max's loyalty, his courage, and his intelligence. He became a symbol of protection, of hope, and of justice in the town. Max continued to watch over Daniel's house and the surrounding areas. Even when the villagers were calm, he remained alert. He patrolled the streets, sniffed the gardens, and observed the shadows. His vigilance was tireless, a quiet reminder that true loyalty never rests. One afternoon, Thomas, Lucas, and Clara gathered near Daniel's grave. They spoke quietly about what had happened and what they had learned. "I cannot believe a dog could be so intelligent," Thomas said. "He knew danger before we did. He guided us, protected us, and saved our lives," Lucas nodded. "Yes, and he never asked for anything in return. He did it out of loyalty and care. We can learn a lot from him," Clara smiled faintly. "He is more than a dog. He is a guardian. He showed us that courage is not just about fighting. It is about seeing danger, acting wisely, and protecting others." Max lay nearby, his head resting on his paws, but his eyes were open, watching them. He seemed to understand every word. The villagers had come to respect him not only for what he had done, but also for who he was. Over time, the town rebuilt its sense of safety. Doors that had been locked, streets that had been quiet, and gardens that had been empty again felt alive. The villagers learned to pay attention, to trust their instincts, and to care for one another. They also learned to trust Max, the dog who had shown them the way. Mr. Grant, the mayor, held a small ceremony near Daniel's grave. He spoke to the townspeople about loyalty, courage, and justice. He reminded them that Daniel's memory should not only be honored for the life he lived, but also for the lessons his loyal companion had taught. Today, we celebrate not only Daniel's life but also Max's courage, the mayor said. He has guided us, protected us, and shown us the meaning of true loyalty. Let this be a reminder that we must care for those around us and act with courage when it is needed most. Max barked softly, as if he understood every word. Children ran to him, patting his head, and adults offered quiet smiles. He did not seek recognition or reward. His loyalty was his gift, and he would continue to guard the town silently, faithfully, and with unwavering attention. In the days that followed, Max's story spread beyond Willow Creek. People from nearby towns came to see the dog who had saved lives and uncovered secrets. They marveled at his intelligence, his courage, and his unwavering loyalty. The villagers welcomed visitors but always kept Max close, knowing that his primary duty was to protect Daniel's memory and the town he had loved. Life returned to a quiet rhythm, but the lessons remained. People watched more carefully, listened more attentively, and acted more kindly. They shared stories of Max's courage with their children, ensuring that the memory of the loyal K9 would endure for generations. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Max sat near Daniel's grave. His eyes scanned the horizon, alert for any signs of danger. The town was peaceful, but Max knew that vigilance was part of his duty. He had seen too much, understood too much to ever be careless. Thomas, Lucas, and Clara stood nearby, speaking quietly. "We owe our lives to him," Clara said. "We can never forget what he has done for us," Thomas nodded. "He is more than a dog. He is a guardian, a friend, and a hero. We should honor him every day, not just with words, but by living with courage and loyalty ourselves." Lucas added, "Yes. He taught us that loyalty is not about ownership. It is about protection, care, and understanding. Max has given us a lesson we will never forget." Max looked at them, his eyes bright, and gave a soft bark. He wagged his tail slightly, a quiet sign of approval. He did not need their words. He had acted, guided, and protected. That was enough. The town slept peacefully that night, the streets quiet, and the homes warm with safety. Max remained near Daniel's house, alert and watchful. His loyalty had guided the town through darkness, uncovered secrets, and protected lives. He had proven that courage and love could take many forms, and that sometimes the smallest actions could make the greatest difference. And as the stars shone above Willow Creek, the villagers knew that they had been watched over, guided and protected by a friend who did not speak, but whose actions had spoken louder than any words. Max had fulfilled his duty, yet his vigilance never wavered. He remained a symbol of loyalty, courage, and unwavering guardianship, reminding the town that even in the quietest places, heroes could be found. The memory of Daniel and Max's loyalty became a story told and retold in Willow Creek. Children grew up hearing about the dog who had barked in warning, the dog who had saved lives, and the dog who had shown the town what true loyalty meant. Max became a legend, not for his size or strength, but for his courage, his intelligence, and his unwavering love. Years later, the town would remember the events as a turning point. They had faced fear, danger, and betrayal, but through loyalty, courage, and vigilance, they had overcome it all. Max had been their guide, their protector, and their hero. And his story, told in quiet whispers and proud retellings, would never be forgotten. Max sat one final time near Daniel's grave, the sunset reflecting in his eyes. His work had been done, yet his presence reminded the town that loyalty never rests. True guardianship, true courage, and true love endure through time. Max had proven that even a single life guided by loyalty could change the fate of many. Willow Creek would always remember the black K9 who barked in warning, who protected lives, and who showed the town that courage could come in forms they had never imagined. Max's story was complete, yet his watchful eyes remained a symbol of hope, vigilance, and unwavering loyalty.